we're not going to beg for your attention. We're going to make the dog curious. Right? Because, hey, who's kidding who? Leaders don't beg for attention, and we don't buy attention, okay? Like, I'm not buying your affection with food. Like, I am not buying it. I find that it hurts my heart so much when I feel like my dog is just there for the food, you know? So that's why I'm not like calling him to me and rewarding him. I'm not calling a command and marking it with food. This isn't training. This is just building up natural curiosity to what is this human doing? Today on the podcast, hey, have you ever felt like you are completely nothing while walking your dog on the leash? Ever felt like everything else in the environment is just way more interesting than you? If that is you, my friend, this episode is for you. We're talking about everything that you can do to get that attention back without bribing and begging. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. Have you ever looked at your dog and thought, why are you like this? I mean, why do you bolt at every sound, but yet freeze in place when I call you? Why do you ignore me in training, but panic when I leave the room? Well, here's the truth. It's not just behavior, it's personality. Or as I like to call it, doginality. Every dog has their own way of seeing the world, and understanding your dog's unique doginality is the first step to building real trust and connection. And that's why I created the Doginality Quiz. It's free, it's fast, and it will give you custom insights into what makes your dog tick and how to work with their nature instead of against it. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start connecting, head on over to beyondobedience.ca/quiz and then head to the free Facebook group to tell me what you got. I'll see you there. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome. If you're brand new, so glad that you are joining us here today. I have to say, since we have been talking about the Doginality Quiz and people have been taking the quiz, there are a lot of you out there with those the Fearless Explorers. Put your hand up in the air if you've got a Fearless Explorer. Fearless Explorer people. Those are our right brain extroverts that are confident, the ones that are stalking and searching and hunting, and everything in the environment is so exciting. And I've had many people reach out and been like, I've been listening to the podcast, Tracy. I get that this is the way that my dog is. I've been doing all of the work to try to be more relevant and more fun and more fulfilling. I'm doing the tug. I'm doing the things. And I just still feel irrelevant at the end of the leash. I take my dog out on the leash and everything else is just way more fun than me. And it reminded me, I'm not laughing at you, by the way. I'm laughing with you. I had one. Remember, I had one. I had an RBE Confident Apollo. He was my Fearless Explorer. And if you recall the stories of how he took off on me and chased after all those deers, and then the baby deers were popping up, and it was like a whack-a-mole, and I was like, whoa! And I was screaming like an idiot calling his name and had to stop myself and be like, what am I doing? He can't hear me. He's not going to hear me. So I've been there. I've walked in your shoes, my friend. I know what you're talking about. But it did actually get me thinking about that movie. Do you remember the movie what was it? I should have Googled it. The movie, hold on. I'm going to Google it. He's just not that into you. He's just not that into you. Do you remember that movie? Let me see if I can find it. He's just not that into you. Here we go. It is from 2009. What? How could it be in 2009? I don't look a day over 35, so I don't know how that's true. Anyway, it was 2009. Crazy, crazy, incredible cast, right? It had Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck, Drew Barrymore, so many great. Anyway, it was a fun, cute little film. He's just not that into you. And that's what I keep on wanting to say overwhelmed wonder. That's what my fearless explorers are. They're that's how you feel when you own a fearless explorer. You feel like, I'm like, he's just not that into me. I'm laughing now because what else can you do? What else can you do? But I will say, like, I know the feeling, because I have people that come up to me that say, I love this dog so much, but he just doesn't feel like he cares when I'm on a leash. Like, I become completely invisible when there's a squirrel. And how do I do that? There's even a podcast out there that's called Sexier Than a Squirrel. So I know, I feel it. I feel that people are struggling with this issue. So I actually wanted to talk about that. I wanted to give you a really great tip that I used for I use it for a couple of the different dogonalities, but it would definitely work with an RBE as well. Don't get me wrong. I still think you need some. Remember, if you've been following the dogonality series, I did say in that series that the RBECs are the one dogonality that I say needs to have obedience. Okay? Even though I'm beyond obedience, I do say that for these dogs, they need to have obedience. And it literally is the obedience. If you think of it this way, obedience is teaching them how to switch from that right brain, that instinctual brain, back to a left brain, a thinking brain. And that needs to be practiced. That switch needs to be used. It needs to be lubricated every day. You know what I'm saying? I wish I had never said the word lubricated. I don't know why I said that, but you know what I'm saying. It came out of my mouth and now it's there. I can't take it back now. Sometimes that happens when we record these podcasts, but, so I do still stand by that. So if you're someone who is like, I don't really want to, I'm gonna suggest that you do. I'm gonna suggest that you start practicing that. And we of course do it the way we would teach any obedience. We're gonna do it without distractions and whatnot first, and then we're gonna proof it. We're gonna do all this stuff, and we're gonna do it slowly, and we're gonna keep on doing repetitions. Like, all of the same obedience stuff works for sure, Z's. But one of the things that I do, I'm going to give you my hot tip on one of the things that I do any time that I feel like my dogs are just kind of blowing me off when they're not really paying attention to me. And it happens, if I'm being honest, usually when it does happen, when I notice that my dogs are blowing me off, the first thing I actually do check is my leadership scorecard. And more often than not, I haven't really been paying attention. I've been checked out and not really there. And so I will, first step is always leadership scorecard and getting back to that and being like, I have to be a little bit more intentional of what I'm doing. But the other thing that I do, this is a fun little tip. Okay. And it kind of goes along the line. This is why I thought about the movie, He's Just Not That Into You, because I've mentioned it. If you're one of my clients that has one of these dogs, I've probably told you about this. But I want, when I have a dog that's blowing me off, especially out in the environment, instead of doing what I think a lot of people do, which is try to bribe them back, right? To maybe do a couple of recalls and then, be like, I have treats. I have treats in my pocket, right? Bribing my way back to you. I actually do the opposite. So I still use food for this, especially because most RBECs are still food motivated. Most of them are. It's just that you're competing in the same reward system, right? You're using food as a reward system, but they're also using that same reward system by chasing things. It's more fun for them to chase and kill their food than it is to get food from your pocket or from a bowl. So that's why you struggle so much with food, especially in the presence of those triggers. because they're like, you'll probably still give me the food and I'm just going to chase this rabbit, like, because that's way more fun. So I do use food, and I've mentioned this a number of times. I still use food. I use food all the time. I just use it in a different way. One of the ways that I use it for dogs that are blowing me off, like an RBEC, so those fearless explorers, the ones that are hunting, seeking, searching, they're doing everything else, is that I will play hard to get. That's the trick. I play hard to get. I don't get offended when they're like, focused on the squirrels and doing all that stuff. Now, full disclosure, some of the time I will actually go chase squirrels with them. Not well. And I will say this for any of you that are like, how would you chase a squirrel with like a Greyhound Pit Bull mix? I would do it on a long line. Right? Give myself some grace because I can't keep up with them. But all I mean by that is that, when he goes and chases a squirrel, I'll go running up to that tree too, and I'll look up at that tree and I'll be like, where is he? What's going on? And I'll kind of get in it like, oh, that squirrel, like that kind of thing. But other times when I don't feel like chasing squirrels, I play hard to get. What does that mean? So my dog's kind of like off and he's hunting, seeking, searching. Now, let's get it straight. You got to do the timing right. You can't do it in competition with them when they're already they're already running after something. Like you can't be like, instead of running, look, because they won't see you. I'm talking about like they're just like frantically searching and seeking. I like to do this on a long line because I actually like them to get, pretty far away from me. Like I don't want them that close to me. Again, I always have to mention this. Please do this in a safe place. Like when we're talking about using long lines and stuff like that, don't do it like, near a road where your dog can wander off and you're not paying attention. But when my dog is doing that, I'll actually kind of stop and then I'll start looking at something else. And sometimes, not usually the first time, I usually don't put the food down the first time. I'll just like play around with the leaves and stuff. And I know you've heard me say this before, but I don't know if you're catching or I don't know if I've talked about the idea of playing hard to get. Because I've talked about like, playing around with the leaves and looking at what they're looking at and digging with them and doing all this stuff. This is different. This is when my dog is not paying attention to me. I'll start looking over here and be like, oh, what's this? I'll find something interesting. Usually for me, it's the, where the trees fall over and the roots come up and there's like a little cool den thing. I actually do find them fascinating. I also am a little bit scared that there's an animal living in there, but I do find them fascinating because I'm like, it looks like a nice little den. And so I'll usually go and look at something like that. And the nice thing about that is there usually is good smells there because animals do use those areas, right, for coverage and all of that stuff. But I'll go over there and I'll start sort of digging around and whatnot. Now, I don't call the dog. Okay, remember, the key to this is you're playing hard to get. So I don't call the dog, but I don't, I also hold the long line. So my dog can't go any further than the 20 feet or however long my long line is. And I just keep like looking over there, digging, doing stuff. And generally speaking, once they get to the end of the line, they realize they can't go any further. They'll come back and they'll be like, what are you doing? Sometimes they come back with that to find like, oh, human, you're so boring. Like I can't go to the places I want to go. They'll come back. But if they see that you're doing something in the dirt, in the grass, in the leaves, whatever, they're like, what are you doing over there? The moment that my dog comes over, I'll leave. Yeah, I'm turning the tables on this game, friend. I am turning the tables. I'm like, I don't even want you over here. I'm going to go look over here now. And I'll go to another location and go look someplace else. And usually because I've milled around there, my dog will stay there a little bit and smell the things that I've been touching and whatnot. And I'll go someplace else. Now, usually around the second or the third time that I've done this is where I will drop the food. So I will put some, I'll be digging around and I'll drop some of the treats. I don't usually have treats, but I have dog food. So I usually just drop some of the kibble down but I don't stay there. I just kind of drop some of the kibble down, put my scent there, and then I move on to a different place. And so then my dog comes up and all of a sudden, oh, gee, he's like, because, he's already searching and seeking because he's wondering what I'm doing. And then he finds the food. And I'll then look over and go, what'd you find? right? Almost like, hey, what'd you find? Do I act this out? Yes, I do. Right? I'll be like, what did you find? And if I see them like, having the food, I'm like, what did you get? And then I'll go like, oh, I don't care. And I'll go look for something else. And I kind of keep doing this. Now, what ends up usually happening, as long as nothing huge happens, like the one time I was doing this game, and what are those big ass birds that are in the ground? Like, what are they? What are they called? Call them forest chickens. What are they? The word has eluded me what those birds are, but whatever those birds are that are they're like on the ground, but they never make a move until you're right next to them, and then they go and they like they scare the bejesus out of me every time. Anyway, the one time I was doing that, and one of those, like, I startled one of those and it shot out. My dog, it scared me and I screamed, and then the dog, I let go of the leash. The dog went off after it, and I was like, oh well, that's going to be way more fun than me. And I really lost a lot of points there. Like in the whole, like, look at me, I can find things world, and look at my leadership. Like, I screamed like a girl, fell over, dropped the leash, and lost the dog. So we all have our moments. But my point is that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, But what generally happens after a very short amount of time is I have a dog that's literally now following me, because they're like, where are you finding all this stuff? Now, I'm not naive, I know that they can probably smell the food on me, but I don't know if they've figured out, because that I'm dropping the food. Like, they're probably not like, that's coming out of your pocket. Like, maybe they are. But either way, it ends up creating this thing where, because I'm playing hard to get and I'm not engaging with them a lot when they come, like, I'm just kind of like, and I'll go like somewhere else. They end up being like, almost like, well, I want to follow you now. Like, what are you doing? Right. And this is why it reminds me of that movie. Cause I'm like, sometimes when you're like, he's just not that into you. And then you start not caring. That's when all of a sudden they're into you. Right. And that's exactly what I do. This idea of like, I'm just going to be over here and like, not paying attention to you. I'm doing my own thing, because what we're essentially doing, we're playing hard to get. We're not chasing them anymore. We're making them, we're making them come to us, right? So we're gaining those leadership points, right? Because we're getting them to move their feet and follow us. Because something's happening. Like, what are you doing? You're finding food. You're finding all this stuff. How are you finding it? Right? We're not going to beg for your attention. We're going to make the dog curious. Right? Because, hey, who's kidding who? Leaders don't beg for attention. And we don't buy attention, okay? Like, I'm not buying your affection with food. Like, I am not buying it. I find that it hurts my heart so much when I feel like my dog is just there for the food. So that's why I'm not like calling him to me and rewarding him. I'm not calling a command and marking it with food. This isn't training. This is just building up natural curiosity to, what is this human doing? And because I'm doing it in alignment with what they want to do, I now become interesting, because I'm technically hunting and seeking and searching. I'm just prefabricating what I'm finding, because I can't find anything. I'm just a dumb human. But it still starts to provide this fulfillment for the dog, because we're actually now hunting, seeking, searching, but we're following my lead, because I found this incredible trail of dog food. How did I do it? I don't know. It's insane. My dogs are like, she's never found anything in her life. Now all of a sudden she's finding all this dog food all over the place. How does she do it? She's incredible. I'm amazing, right? All of that starts to happen, right? Be the one that finds the magic. That's what it is, right? It seems like magic to them. Be the one that finds the magic. Because what you're actually building is curiosity. That curiosity builds engagement. That engagement builds connection. And that connection is the bond you are looking for. And I want to say this too, because I think it's important that I remind you, my friend, that you need to capture moments with your dog, because that's what it will start off being. It'll be tiny little moments. And when you capture those moments, I want you to sit in that for a second and be like, I had that for a moment. Quite often we miss it. Quite often we miss it. We get a split second moment of engagement, like pure engagement where the dog is like, you found stuff, and we miss it. So I want you to make sure that you take it in. Because once you take that moment in, you're going to be able to recognize it quicker and sooner, and you're going to be able to extend them. You're going to take these tiny little microscopic moments and you're going to extend them into slightly longer microscopic moments. But it may seem like it's getting nowhere, but please do yourself a favor and do your dog a favor and just make sure that you celebrate it. You celebrate it and celebrate it. And don't celebrate it by disengaging. Celebrate it and stay in the moment. Okay, I'm going to tell you this story. That just reminded me. It reminded me of the story. I am not a master horseback rider. I am not good. I want to be good. I dreamed of being a good horseback rider. I'm really not. But of the horses, I mean, I can hold my own. Don't get me wrong. I can hold my own. I've taken some lessons. I've done some things. But when I was first starting to ride Magic was a green horse. And I would still consider myself like a greenish rider. I don't know. Is there a next color? Like, is this like belts for karate? Do you get to start off a green rider and then you get to be a white rider? Does that, and then like you move up to the red belt? Like, how does that work? I don't know. But my point is that I wouldn't say I'm like brand new, but I'm still relatively new. Like, I'd always ridden horses that had been broke. You know, they were fully broke horses that, you know, if I made mistakes, it wasn't the end of the world. But Magic was the first horse that I raised from a wee baby. And I didn't do the horse breaking. I had other people that, you know, did his first ride and helped me. But I was taking lessons on him. And I still remember this to the day. Magic was he's a much bigger horse than I was used to. I was used to riding Flame. She was a much smaller quarter horse. Magic is a much larger horse, and he has a wicked long gait, like very, very long gait. So different from what I was used to. And back in the day, I had an indoor arena, and that's where we actually ran our dog groups and stuff like that, but I digress. We had an indoor arena, and my riding instructor, Amber, was getting us to do cantering around the arena. Now, I got on Magic, and somehow the arena seemed to shrink. Like, it felt like it was the tiniest little box that we were in. And Amber said to me, I want you to do just half the arena, just start circling, and I want you to get him into a canter. And she was saying to me, because he's green, you have to make sure that you hold this rein and you're pushing with this leg. And she explained it all to me, but it was a lot of stuff. And I was like, okay, so I was trotting him around in the circle. And she said, when you get to the door, I want you to give the leg, sit back in your seat, blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, get him into that canter. And I was like thinking of all the things, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to hold this rein and I got to sit back in my seat. And we were trotting around. We get to the door and I'm like, this is my moment. And so I do all the things. I'm like, in my head, I'm going through like, you know, sit back in your seat and give the leg and have the pressure on this and blah, blah, blah. And does he not? He breaks into his canter and it's on the right lead. And I'm like, I'm doing it. But it's the half arena. So it was like, it felt like the moment I got him into the canter, I had to turn in the other bend. I'm turning the bend and Amber was like, you're doing it. And for some reason in my head went, yay, I did it. And I started mentally celebrating and forgot the fact that I still had to hold those reins and keep bending him and having him bend around my leg. And did he not run straight into the wall of the arena? He didn't run into it, but it, like he was heading for the arena, and Amber was like, pick up your reins and like bend. And I was like, what? And I lost it all in that split second. And Magic kind of reared up because he was about to hit the wall, and I fell off. I rolled off the back of him, and I twisted my ankle and fell off the horse. And that is my story about celebrating but staying in the moment, because I know that I literally emotionally celebrated that win and then let go of the moment completely. So I don't know why that just came up in my head, but it makes me smile. There, I shared that with you. So my point is that when you get these little tiny moments of engagement with your dog, I want you to have a little celebration, but kind of stay in the moment. Don't celebrate, be like, we did it. And then because you'll lose it. You'll lose the connection. And that's what I had. Now that I think of it, that's what I had that moment with Magic. Like I had that connection. Like we were truly partners, because I was actually helping him to do this. And then I celebrated without him. And ended up on my keister. So there you go. So here's the real life application. I want you to try that the next time you're out. Just play a little hard to get. Again, easier if you're on a long line. So going into, like if you're out on your walk, having the dog on the long line, let them kind of wander off. It won't work if they've already caught, like if they've they've already spotted the squirrel and now they're in stalk mode. It won't work for that. I'm talking about when they're still just hunting, seeking, searching, right? But they haven't caught anything yet. They haven't caught a trail or seen a squirrel. That's when I want you to stop and just go a different direction, or let the dog wander off, and then you start finding something interesting. And then when your dog comes over, play hard to get. Just walk away, go do something else, then drop some food. And then walk away, and then go do something else, and just see what happens. See if you get your dog for that moment to be like, hey, holy cow, she found some stuff. See if you can get that initial, like, what are you doing, human? Right? Because then you can actually find your way from being ignored to absolutely irresistible. That's generally speaking what I have now when I walk my dogs. A lot of my dogs are running back and checking in with me on the off chance that I found something cool. And a lot of times I don't have food. Like, you know me, I don't take food with me in most cases. And it is literally just because I'm fascinated by the forest. Like, I'll go find something neat, and my dogs will be like, what'd you find? Like, they want to know what I'm discovering. I've made myself a part of that experience with them. And it is part of the whole, as I say, I will chase a squirrel with dogs. I'll be like, let's go see that thing. I tell squirrels off, because squirrels are nasty. They stand up on the tree and they throw stuff at us. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get just as mad at them as the dogs do. I'm like, oh, I swear next time we'll get you, squirrel. Like I get into it with them. But then I also create intrigue, and I move around the forest, and we go and we find stuff, and we do things together. So this kind of thing works really great for, as I mentioned, the fearless explorers. So your right brain extroverts that are confident, works really great for them. It actually works really well too for LBIs, your left brain introverts, those calm thinkers, to get them to actually feel like you're worth it. Right? Remember, the LBIs have that what's in it for me mentality. So if you make it that there's something in it for them, you're interesting, you're fascinating, there's something in it for them. And then the other one that this does work for, but I do this with caution, and I do this only when I'm with them one-on-one, and it's much more slow, is I will do this with RBIs. So the right brain introverts, the dogs that are frozen, they're in survival mode, they don't want to move their feet. I really will try to work to get them to move their feet with me by getting them to engage in their nose. I want them to get out of their head and back into their bodies and using their senses. So I will sometimes just sit there, and if the dog is just sitting there just looking panicky, I'll just start to scratch in the grass and be like, what is this right here? And then I'll just kind of move over, and I'll see if I can just get the slightest little movement. Like, do you want to move with me? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And but it's a start to connection. So there you go. He's just not into you. Play hard to get. Play hard to get, my friend, because you are worth it. You are worth it. You could be sexier than a squirrel. And then you can poop talk the squirrel when they're not looking. Just be like, how dare you, squirrel? All right. I think that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you try this. Let me know. Make sure you're in our free Facebook group, Living Beyond Obedience. Let us know inside that group. Did you go out and play hard to get? Did you go out and play hard to get, and what happened? Let us know. Let's start that discussion over there. If you like this episode, please be sure to leave a comment on Spotify or give us a 5-star written review on Apple to help push the podcast out to more and more dog lovers like you and me. We can all hang out together. As always, get out there today, my friend, and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.